The hall in Victoria Island glittered like a palace. Golden lights hung from the ceiling. White roses wrapped around tall pillars. A live band played soft music while cameras flashed from every corner. This was not just any wedding. It was Victor Adewale's wedding, the millionaire, the man Lagos bloggers called Nigeria's golden son. Guests in expensive lace and agbada filled the room. They laughed, they posed, they took selfies. Everything looked perfect until the doors opened. A soft whisper moved through the hall. Heads turned. Standing at the entrance was Amara, Victor's ex-wife. She wore a simple, long dress, nothing shining, nothing loud. Her hair was neatly packed. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried a story only a few people knew. Standing beside her were two slim boys with bright eyes, Ethan and Elijah, her twin sons. Victor saw her. His smile froze. Then he laughed, not a warm laugh, a proud, wicked laugh. He took the microphone from the MC. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice echoing through the speakers, "it seems even on my wedding day, some people refuse to move on." All eyes shifted between Victor and Amara. "Amara," he said, pointing at her like she was an uninvited stranger, "who told you this is your place? This is not your level. You should be at home, or wherever poor people like you celebrate failure." The hall went quiet. Bianca, his new bride in a sparkling white gown, folded her arms and smirked. A few guests chuckled nervously. Victor was not done. "In fact," he continued, his voice sharper, "security, please help her. I have already done enough for her. I even pay child support for twins that live better than some of you here." Amara's heart stung. Victor was lying. He had never paid a single naira. Her twins held her hands tighter. Ethan squeezed her fingers. Elijah swallowed hard, trying to be brave. A tear burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let it fall. She lifted her chin. Before security could move, a staff member rushed in from outside and whispered something to the event coordinator. Confusion, movement. Cameras turned toward the entrance again. Outside, the sound of engines roared in the sky. Something was coming. The lights in the hall shook slightly. The guests rushed toward the windows. Victor frowned. "What is that noise?" he snapped. No answer. Then, "Let's go back. Let's go to the beginning. Let's go to the day Amara thought love was safe." Years before the wedding, Amara was a bright, gentle girl from Enugu who came to Lagos with big hope. She had finished school but could not find work. She got a small job as a cashier in a supermarket on the island. She lived in a one-room apartment with a thin mattress, a fan that made noise, and a heart full of prayer. That was where she met Victor. He walked in wearing a fine suit, gold wristwatch, and a smile that knew its own beauty. Everyone greeted him with respect. The manager rushed out to attend to him. People whispered, "That's Victor Adewale, the rising star, the real estate guy." Amara simply did her job. "Good afternoon, sir," she said softly as she scanned his items. Victor watched her. "You're new here," he said. "Yes, sir," she replied. "What's your name?" "Amara." He liked how she said it. From that day, he came often. First to buy things, then to check on her, then to wait at closing time so he could drop her at home. He said all the right words. "You're special, Amara. You deserve better. I'll change your life." He took her out, bought her gifts, made her feel seen. He told her, "I like that you're simple, not like these Lagos girls that only want money." She believed him. Soon they were dating. Soon after, they were married. At the wedding, Victor held her hands and said, "You're my queen. I will protect you forever." His mother, Mrs. Victoria Adewale, smiled for the cameras, but her eyes were cold. "She's too ordinary for my son," she whispered to an auntie. "No class. We'll see." At first, life in the mansion felt like a dream. Marble floors, big kitchen, security at the gate, drivers, cleaners, new clothes, trips to nice places. Amara called her parents with joy. "God did it for me," she said. Then the twins came, Ethan and Elijah, two perfect little boys with their father's eyes. That was when Victor changed. The first time Amara asked for his help at night when one of the babies was crying, he hissed, "Amara, I work all day. Don't disturb my sleep. You're a mother. Act like one." The first time she said she felt lonely, he laughed. "Lonely in a house most women pray to enter? Are you serious? When she dressed in a simple Ankara gown, he frowned. Don't embarrass me, he said. My friends' wives wear designer. Look at yourself. Whenever she cried, he called her dramatic. Whenever she complained, he said it was in her head. When he came home late with perfume that was not hers on his shirt, and she gently asked, Victor, where were you? He exploded. Are you spying on me? Do you think any man will want you if I leave you? Look at me. Look at you. Without me, you are nothing. Those words cut like a knife. Slowly, Amara stopped talking. She stopped laughing. She walked carefully, sat carefully, spoke carefully. Mrs. Victoria did not help. She looked for every chance to mock her. You don't know how to host visitors, she would say. You talk too softly. You are not helping Victor's image. My son married down. Victor agreed. He started staying out longer. Parties, trips, photos with strange women on Instagram. New cars, new suits, new pride. At home he was cold. Outside he was charming. The twins grew, but Victor did not see them much. He never came for school events. When Amara tried to remind him, he snapped. Don't guilt trip me. I pay the bills. Except he didn't always. School fees were late. Food money came with insults. He called her ungrateful when she asked for diapers. One night, everything broke. It was raining hard. Victor came home drunk with two friends and Bianca, the woman always hanging around him. They laughed loudly in the living room. Amara, holding sleeping Elijah, walked out carefully. Victor, please, she whispered. The boys are sleeping. Can you keep your voice? Shut up, he shouted. His friends went quiet. See this woman, Victor said, pointing at her. I picked her from nothing, and she thinks she can control me in my own house. Bianca smiled. Mrs. Victoria, who had come to stay for a while, watched with cold eyes. Victor, I'm just saying the children, Amara began. Victor marched toward her. If I hear one more word from you tonight, he said, you will regret it. Ethan woke up and started crying. Daddy, the boy said. Victor ignored him. They argued. It grew worse. Years of pain poured out of Amara in simple words. You don't see us. You don't care. You hurt me. Victor's face darkened. Pack your things, he said. She blinked. What? I said pack your things. Leave my house. Her heart dropped. Victor, it's late. The boys. He opened the door. Rain blew into the living room. I said, get out, now. Take your twins and go back to the gutter I picked you from. Mrs. Victoria folded her arms. Bianca watched like a movie. Amara stood there shaking, holding Elijah, while Ethan clung to her wrapper. Victor, please, she whispered. They are your sons. He turned his head away. Security came closer. She had no choice. She picked a small suitcase, some clothes, important papers. The twins cried as she led them to the gate. The rain soaked their hair, their clothes, their small slippers. The mansion lights glowed behind them like a world they could never touch again. The big black gate closed. Boom. And with that sound, Amara realized she was truly alone, with two little boys. No money, no home, no husband, and no idea that the same man who threw her out would one day try to humiliate her again, in front of the whole world, and that the way she walked back into his life would shock everyone. The rain that night was heavy, almost like the sky itself was crying with Amara. She walked barefoot, her twins crying quietly beside her. They were too young to understand what had just happened. All Amara knew was that she needed to keep moving. The cold bit her skin, but the pain in her heart was sharper. She reached a small bus stop near Lekki Phase 1, her wrapper soaked and her hair sticking to her face. A kind Kiki driver noticed her trembling. Madam, where you dey go this kind time? He asked. I don't know, she whispered. He sighed, then offered her and the twins a ride without payment. He dropped her near a church where the pastor's wife, seeing her state, took them in for the night. Amara spent that night sitting on the church bench, her boys asleep on her lap, the pastor's wife wrapping a small blanket over them. She barely slept. Her mind replayed every word Victor said. Without me, you are nothing. She looked at her twins and whispered, then I'll become something. You'll see. Morning came. She called her friend Chica, who helped her find a small room in Aja. Just one room with a leaking ceiling and no bed. But it was a start. Amara began working at a small real estate firm as a receptionist. She didn't have experience, but she was polite, patient, and hardworking. Her boss saw that and kept her. Every morning she woke at 4:30 a.m., bathed the twins, cooked rice with pepper, packed their school bags, and took them to a small local school. Then she rushed to work, where she smiled at clients and answered calls like her world wasn't falling apart. At night, when the twins slept, she would sit on the floor, reading books about property, real estate, and communication. She was determined to rise, no matter how long it took. Months passed, then years. Ethan and Elijah grew fast, smart, kind, and protective of their mother. They saw her struggle, yet never complain. They saw her cry sometimes quietly when she thought they were asleep. Still, she smiled for them every morning. God has not forgotten us, she'd say. He's only preparing something better. Meanwhile, Victor's life looked perfect on the outside. His wedding with Bianca made headlines. Lagos millionaire marries model. His mansion was filled with laughter, parties, and expensive wine. But beneath the glitter, cracks had begun to show. Bianca was not like Amara. She loved luxury, not love. She spent money recklessly, mocked Victor's mother, and threw tantrums when things didn't go her way. Victor, I want a trip to Dubai, she'd say. Again? Yes. And this time I want to shop in Paris too. Victor's business started suffering. Projects failed, investors withdrew, and the man who once called himself untouchable began to panic. But pride wouldn't let him admit it. Instead, he drank more and worked less. Back in Aja, one Thursday evening, Amara stayed late at work to complete a report. The office was quiet except for the sound of her typing. Suddenly, she heard a deep, calm voice behind her. "You're still here?" She turned. Standing in the doorway was Chief Raymond Asika, the firm's biggest client and one of Lagos's most respected billionaires. He was tall, clean-shaven, and soft-spoken, with kind eyes that carried authority without arrogance. "Good evening, sir," she said quickly, standing up. "I just wanted to finish these documents before tomorrow." He smiled slightly. "Most people would have left hours ago. I don't like leaving things undone." "That's rare these days," he said, walking closer. "What's your name?" "Amara, sir." He nodded. Amara. Beautiful name. That evening, he noticed how professional and focused she was. Not loud, not attention-seeking, just graceful. Before leaving, he said, "Good work. Keep it up." It was a short exchange, but it planted something small. Respect. Weeks passed. Chief Raymond returned for meetings. Every time he visited, he would greet Amara first. "How are your sons?" he asked once. Her heart skipped. "You remember?" "I remember everything worth remembering," he said with a kind smile. He learned about her life, her struggle, her divorce, and her quiet strength. But he never pitied her. Instead, he admired her courage. He started sending small tokens. Not expensive gifts, but thoughtful ones. Books, food for the twins, sometimes a driver to drop her home when it rained. Amara was hesitant at first, but Raymond's kindness never came with conditions. He respected boundaries. He often told her, "A woman who can survive heartbreak and still smile. That's power." One day he invited her and the twins to his home for lunch. The house was grand but peaceful, filled with art, music, and warmth. Ethan and Elijah played in the garden while Amara sat on the balcony with Raymond. "You remind me of someone," he said softly. "Who?" "My mother," he replied. "She was quiet but unshakable. Life tried to break her, but she never bent." Amara smiled faintly. "Maybe strength runs in women who have no other choice." That day, Raymond looked at her differently. Not as an employee, not as a charity case, but as a woman worth protecting, worth loving. And slowly, gently, love began to grow between them. He took her out sometimes, but privately, away from the noise of Lagos society. He met her twins and became a father figure they never had. He encouraged her to go back to school for business management and even paid her fees secretly. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked one evening. He smiled. "Because you deserve more than survival, Amara. You deserve peace." Meanwhile, Victor's empire kept crumbling. His marriage with Bianca turned into war. She accused him of hiding money. He accused her of cheating. Their fights made gossip blogs daily. His mother, Mrs. Victoria, still blamed Amara. "That girl cursed you," she shouted during one of their arguments. Victor slammed the table. "Enough, Mama. Don't bring her name again." But late at night, when he scrolled through old pictures on his phone, Mara smiling, the twins laughing, guilt filled his chest. He had replaced love with pride, and pride had given him emptiness. 2 years later, Victor decided to host a grand anniversary celebration, claiming it was a vow renewal with Bianca. He wanted to show the world he was still successful. He wanted to look powerful again. The invitations went out across Lagos. Politicians, businessmen, influencers, everyone got one. And among them, one envelope reached a small real estate office in Aja. It was addressed to Mrs. Amara Adewale. When she saw the name, her hands trembled. He still used her married title. The card glittered with gold letters. The venue, Echo Atlantic Hall. The date, next Saturday. Her colleagues gasped when they saw it. "Are you going?" one asked. Amara smiled faintly. "Why would I?" "Because maybe it's time he sees who you've become." That night she told Raymond about it. He listened quietly. "Do you want to go?" he asked. "I don't know," she said. "I don't want trouble." He took her hand. "You won't go alone." On the day of the event, the hall was filled with the elite of Lagos once again. Reporters, lights, decorations, laughter. Victor stood proud in his white agbada beside Bianca, smiling for cameras. Then came the sound, a deep hum in the distance. People stepped outside. Phones went up. A sleek white jet descended at the private strip near the hall, glowing under the sunset. The door opened slowly, and out stepped Amara, radiant in a golden gown, her twins in matching tuxedos, and Chief Raymond Azaka beside her. Gasps filled the air. Cameras flashed. Even the governor's wife whispered, "Is that her?" Victor's smile vanished. His jaw tightened. Bianca's face drained of color. And in that single moment, the woman he once threw into the rain had returned. Not in shame, not in tears, but in power. And what happened next would shake the entire room. The hall went completely silent. Every guest turned toward the entrance, where Amara stood, glowing under the crystal lights, her gold gown sparkling with quiet power. Her twins, Ethan and Elijah, stood beside her like little princes. Chief Raymond Asika walked beside her, dressed in a black tailored suit that whispered wealth and authority. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered. The band stopped playing. Victor's face went pale. He wasn't expecting her to come. He had sent that invitation to mock her, not to face her. Bianca leaned closer, her smile fading. "Victor, isn't that your ex-wife?" Victor didn't answer. He was frozen. Amara walked slowly into the hall, every step measured, graceful, confident. Her posture spoke louder than 1,000 words. She was no longer the broken woman who left his mansion crying in the rain. She had become everything he said she could never be. The event host, caught off guard, tried to cover the tension. "Ah, what a surprise, ladies and gentlemen. It seems our celebration has a special guest tonight." But no one laughed. All eyes were still on Amara. Chief Raymond smiled politely and shook hands with a few stunned business executives. "Good evening, gentlemen," he said calmly. "I'm sorry for the delay. My fiancé and I had to stop by for a few minutes before our flight." "Fiancé?" one of them whispered in shock. "Did he just say fiancé?" Amara's left hand gleamed, a diamond ring sparkling under the lights. Victor's stomach tightened. It hit him like a punch. The woman he once called nothing was now the fiancée of one of the richest and most respected billionaires in Nigeria. Bianca shifted uncomfortably, trying to smile, but it came out forced. "Victor, please say something," she whispered. Victor's pride began to boil. "She's doing this for attention," he muttered. "She's trying to embarrass me." But in truth, it was his own humiliation burning inside him. The MC tried to move the program along, but whispers filled the room. Everyone was talking about Amara. People sneaked pictures, posting them online. Victor's ex-wife just walked into his wedding anniversary with Chief Raymond Asika. Lagos event turns dramatic as ex-wife of Millionaire arrives in Billionaire's jet. Social media was exploding before the cake was even cut. Meanwhile, Raymond gently guided Amara to their reserved seats. The twins sat quietly, smiling shyly as waiters offered them juice. Raymond leaned toward her and said softly, "Are you okay?" Amara nodded, her voice low. "Yes, I just didn't expect the silence." He smiled. "Sometimes silence is the loudest revenge." She breathed deeply and looked around. Her eyes met Mrs. Victoria Attawale, Victor's mother, sitting at the front. The older woman looked like she had seen a ghost. Her lips tightened. She whispered something to a friend, shaking her head. Amara remembered the woman who once told her, "You're not good enough for my son." Now she didn't even need to say a word. Her presence alone was an answer. A few moments later, Victor couldn't take it anymore. He dropped his drink and marched across the hall toward her table. The crowd watched in suspense. "Amara," he said through clenched teeth, forcing a smile. "You weren't really invited. This event is private." Raymond looked up calmly. "Is that how you talk to a guest, Mr. Attawale?" Victor hesitated. He knew who Raymond was. A man whose company had once saved Victor's failing project years ago. A man he could never afford to offend. But his pride wouldn't let him stay quiet. "This is my day," Victor said, raising his voice slightly. "My wife and I don't need drama." Amara finally spoke, her tone soft but steady. "I didn't come for drama, Victor. I came to show my sons where they came from. That's all." Her voice carried calm power. Every guest nearby went silent. Victor's face flushed. "You think walking in here with him will make you look better than me?" he snapped. "Don't fool yourself. I made you. Without me, you would still be nothing." Raymond rose slowly to his feet. His deep voice filled the hall. "Careful, Victor," he said evenly. "You don't talk to my fiancé that way." Gasps echoed around the hall. Victor blinked, unsure how to respond. Raymond took a step closer, his eyes calm but piercing. "You had a good woman, a rare one. You broke her because you didn't understand her value. But you see, life has a way of returning the truth to its rightful owner." The room went silent again. Victor tried to speak, but his voice trembled. "Don't act like you're the hero here. She's everything you lost," Raymond interrupted quietly. At that moment, Bianca stormed forward, trying to save face. "Please, enough of this nonsense. Everyone, let's enjoy the evening." But her voice cracked. Her perfect evening had turned into a public nightmare. She noticed the camera flashes capturing every second. Her fake smile, Victor's anger, Amara's glow. Mrs. Victoria stood up abruptly, pointing at Amara. "You came here to shame my family," she yelled. Amara turned to her slowly. "No, Ma. I came here to show my sons what strength looks like. You told me I'd never rise again, remember? You were wrong." Mrs. Victoria's voice failed her. She sat down quietly, her face red with shame. Victor tried to speak again, but Raymond placed a hand on his shoulder, firm but not violent. "Victor," he said softly, "you had your chance. You threw away a diamond while chasing glitter." Those words echoed through the hall. The cameras caught it. Everyone heard. Victor stood frozen, his pride finally broken. For the first time, his confident smile was gone. Amara took Raymond's hand. Her twin stood beside her. Together they began walking toward the exit. People stepped aside to make way. Some clapped quietly. Others watched in awe. Bianca's eyes filled with tears of anger. Victor's fists clenched. As Amara reached the door, she paused. She turned slightly and said gently, "You said without you, I was nothing. But today, without me, you're just noise." And with that, she walked out, her gown gliding across the marble floor, her sons smiling proudly, and Raymond walking beside her like the peace she had prayed for all her life. Outside, the sound of the jet engine started again, ready to take off. And inside, the once proud millionaire stood in silence, surrounded by lights, cameras, and people, but completely alone. That night became the most talked about event in Lagos. By morning, every blog, every gossip page, every TV headline carried the same story. Ex-wife of Lagos, millionaire steals, spotlight at his own wedding anniversary. Victor Adewale silenced as billionaire. Raymond Asika defends fiancé Amara in public showdown. Videos of the confrontation flooded the internet. Clips of Amara's calm words and Raymond's quiet warning spread like wildfire. And the comments poured in. That's what happens when you mistreat a good woman. She left in tears but returned like a queen. Karma moves faster than private jets. By noon, Victor's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. His brand partners began to pull out. A construction deal worth billions was put on hold. He switched off his phone, locked himself in his office, and drank from a half-empty glass of whiskey. Bianca paced the room, furious. "Victor, what were you thinking? You let that woman embarrass us in front of everyone." Victor slammed the glass down. "You think I planned it? I didn't know she'd show up." "Oh, but you invited her," Bianca shot back. "You wanted to mock her. Now she's trending, and you look like a fool." Her words cut him deep. He wanted to shout, but his voice broke. For the first time, he realized he had lost control, not just of his image, but of his life. Meanwhile, in Raymond's quiet estate in Banana Island, Amara sat with her twins on the balcony, sipping orange juice. The morning sun kissed the surface of the water nearby, and for once, peace didn't feel borrowed. It felt earned. Ethan looked at her and smiled. "Mom, everybody at school is talking about you. You're famous now." Amara laughed softly. "Famous? No, my dear. Mommy just stood up for herself. That's all." Elijah added, "But you looked like a movie star." Raymond came out holding a newspaper. "They're right, you know," he said, grinning. "Look, Amara, the woman who silenced a millionaire." Amara blushed and shook her head. "Please don't tease me." Raymond smiled. "I'm not teasing. I'm proud. You faced the man who tried to break you, and you didn't flinch." She looked at him quietly. "It wasn't easy, Raymond. For years, I was scared to even say his name." He touched her hand gently. "You're not that woman anymore. You don't owe anyone fear." Amara's eyes softened. "You know, last night when I stood in that hall, it wasn't revenge I felt. It was freedom." Raymond nodded. "That's how you know you've healed. But peace doesn't stop the world from talking." By the next week, reporters camped near Victor's mansion. He stopped leaving home. His board members demanded an explanation for the scandal. Sponsors dropped him one by one. Even his mother, Mrs. Victoria, who had always defended him, avoided calls from the press. Inside the mansion, things grew worse. Bianca refused to attend public events with him, saying she wouldn't be seen with a man whose ex-wife outshines her. They fought almost every night. "I built this house, Victor," she shouted one evening, "and I can throw you out of it," he yelled back. But deep down, he knew he couldn't. His businesses were collapsing, his accounts frozen for investigation after a bad deal, and his so-called friends had stopped picking his calls. In quiet moments, he found himself scrolling through old photos, Amara smiling with flour on her face while baking, Ethan and Elijah asleep on his chest, her birthday where she wore a simple yellow dress and hugged him with pure love. He had traded that peace for pride. A week later, Victor decided to visit his mother. He needed comfort. He needed someone to remind him that he was still important. But even she was cold. "You brought shame to this family," Mrs. Victoria said bitterly. "I told you to marry a woman with class, not a circus queen like Bianca." Victor rubbed his forehead. "Mama, please." She waved her hand. "Don't mama me. That girl, Amara, she left this house in tears, and now she's the one everyone respects. I can't even step out without hearing her name." He sank into a chair, face in his hands. "Mama, I made a mistake." Mrs. Victoria sighed. "You made many mistakes." For the first time, she didn't defend him. At the same time, Amara's life bloomed brighter. Her work at the real estate firm turned into a full partnership after Raymond invested in her branch. She now managed clients, mentored young women, and even started a foundation for single mothers called Rise Again Initiative. People admired her not just for her beauty, but for her strength. Her story became a message of hope, proof that no one stays broken forever. One day after a seminar, Amara received an unexpected message. Please, I need to see you. Victor, her heart skipped. Raymond noticed her expression. Everything all right? It's from him, she said quietly. He nodded calmly. Do you want to go? Amara hesitated. Maybe it's time to close this chapter properly. Raymond gave a small smile. Then go, but don't let him take your peace. The next day she met Victor at a quiet cafe in Lekki. He looked nothing like the proud man she once knew. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes tired. Amara, he began softly. I don't even know where to start. She said nothing. I lost everything, he continued. Bianca left. My company is falling apart. People I helped don't even return my calls. He looked up, his voice cracking. You were the only one who ever really cared for me, and I treated you like trash. Tears gathered in his eyes. I'm sorry, Amara. I'm truly sorry. Amara's gaze stayed calm. I forgave you a long time ago, Victor, but forgiveness doesn't mean going back. He nodded slowly. I know. I just needed to say it. She stood to leave, but before walking out, she added softly, maybe this is your turn to start again, the way I did. Victor watched her walk away. The woman he once mocked, now stronger, gentler, untouchable. And as the door closed behind her, he whispered to himself, she was never the weak one, I was. Outside, Amara stepped into the bright Lagos sun. Her car waited, her twins' laughter echoed from inside, and Raymond waved from the front seat. As she smiled and got in, one thought filled her heart. Sometimes life doesn't punish your enemies. It simply blesses you until they learn the lesson themselves. Months passed. The storm around Victor slowly faded, but his world remained silent. The mansion that once echoed with laughter now felt like a museum of regret. Empty wine bottles sat beside stacks of unpaid bills. His reflection in the mirror no longer looked powerful, just tired. Bianca had left completely, taking whatever she could carry. His business partners withdrew their investments one by one. Some said it was karma, others said it was arrogance. But deep down, Victor knew it was both. One evening, as he sat alone on his balcony, staring at the lights of Lagos, he whispered to himself, this house used to feel too small. Now it's too big. He thought of Amara again, not the woman from the wedding, dressed like royalty, but the woman from before, the one who used to wait up for him, who prayed for his success, who smiled even when he was cruel. He had destroyed that love with his own hands. A tear rolled down his cheek. For the first time, the man who once mocked her now missed her voice more than he could bear. Meanwhile, Amara's life had never been brighter. Her foundation, Rise Again, had grown across Nigeria, supporting single mothers with small business grants and skill training. She often said, no woman should suffer because someone broke her spirit. Her story became a voice of strength, and women admired her for her humility despite her success. Raymond watched her proudly. Their love wasn't loud. It was calm, mature, and respectful. He admired how she balanced motherhood, work, and purpose with grace. The twins adored him too, calling him Uncle Ray at first, then Dad, naturally over time. Their engagement had become a symbol of second chances. Still, Amara kept her heart grounded. She didn't chase fame, she only wanted peace. One morning, as she packed lunch for the twins, Raymond came up behind her and placed a soft kiss on her forehead. You've been working nonstop again, he teased. She smiled. You know I can't sit still when I have something to finish. He chuckled. You've always been that way, stubborn in the best way possible. She turned, laughing. You make it sound like a compliment. It is, he said, pulling her close. You're everything they said you couldn't be. For a moment, she looked into his eyes, remembering the woman she used to be, timid, apologetic, scared. Now she stood strong, loved, and respected. 2 weeks later, Amara received a call she didn't expect. Madam, please, the voice said softly. Mr. Victor Adewale. He's in the hospital. Her heart stilled. What happened? He collapsed at his office. High blood pressure. They say stress and depression. For a long moment, Amara said nothing. Raymond, who was beside her, noticed her silence. What's wrong? She whispered. It's Victor. He's sick. He nodded gently. Do you want to see him? She hesitated. I don't know if I can. Raymond took her hand. Then go for closure, not for him. You deserve peace, not revenge. That afternoon, Amara walked into the hospital. The nurses recognized her immediately but respected her privacy. When she entered the private ward, Victor was lying weakly on the bed, a shadow of his former self. His face lit up faintly when he saw her. Amara. She sat down quietly beside his bed. You shouldn't be talking much, she said softly. He smiled bitterly. I thought you wouldn't come. I didn't come for the past, she said. I came because no one deserves to be alone. He looked down at his trembling hands. I used to think strength was about control, about power, but I was wrong. You were the strong one all along. Amara said nothing. Her silence was kinder than words. He continued, voice faint. I see your face everywhere now, on the news, online, helping people. I'm glad you found happiness. She smiled gently. It wasn't easy, but pain has a strange way of becoming purpose. Victor nodded slowly, tears filling his eyes. I hope your husband treats you better than I ever did. She looked at him. He doesn't treat me better. He treats me right. There's a difference. He gave a weak laugh. I guess I had to lose everything to understand love. Amara stood to leave. You'll be fine, Victor. Take care of yourself. As she turned toward the door, Victor whispered, Amara, tell Ethan and Elijah that I'm sorry. I was a coward of a father. She paused, then said softly, they already forgave you. Children have purer hearts than we deserve. And with that, she left the room, her heart not heavy, but light. She didn't walk away angry. She walked away free. Months later, Amara and Raymond held a beautiful wedding. Private, simple, filled with love. It wasn't about diamonds or luxury. It was about peace. The ceremony took place at a quiet garden in Ikoyi. The twins walked her down the aisle, proud smiles on their faces. When Raymond saw her in her flowing white gown, his eyes softened. You're glowing, he whispered. She smiled. I'm finally home. They exchanged vows that spoke not of fairy tales, but of truth. To love with patience, to heal through understanding, and to never forget where we came from. When they kissed, applause filled the air. It wasn't just a union of two hearts. It was a testimony that broken doesn't mean finished. Victor watched the wedding on his tablet weeks later. He wasn't angry this time, just quiet. He saw the happiness in her eyes and realized that love, real love, wasn't something you controlled. It was something you respected. He turned off the tablet, took a deep breath, and looked out the window. For the first time in years, he smiled. Not because he was happy, but because he finally understood peace, even if it came too late. He whispered to himself, she deserved better, and she found it. A year later, Amara's foundation expanded into Ghana. She became a voice for women rebuilding their lives, teaching them how to turn heartbreak into hope. At one of her events, a journalist asked, if you could send one message to women who've been broken by love, what would it be? Amara smiled thoughtfully. Don't spend your life proving your worth to people who can't see it. The moment you start healing, the universe begins to show you who you truly are. The right people will never need convincing. The hall erupted in applause. After the event, Raymond met her outside. You handled that beautifully, he said. She smiled. I just spoke the truth. He wrapped an arm around her. You know, sometimes I still can't believe the world almost lost a woman like you to someone who didn't see her light. Amara looked up at the sky and whispered, sometimes you have to go through the dark to appreciate the sunrise. That night, as she sat by the window watching the stars, the twins asleep in their rooms, she wrote in her journal, 7 years of pain taught me to value peace. Being broken taught me how to rebuild. And losing everything taught me how to love myself first. She closed the journal, smiled, and turned off the lamp. Outside, the moon glowed softly over the city. The same city that once witnessed her tears now watched her triumph. And somewhere, far away, the man who once humiliated her finally understood that the woman he tried to destroy had become the lesson of his life. Because in the end, strength isn't in revenge, it's in rising higher, quietly, until your peace becomes their silence. Thanks for watching. What's your view about this story? Where are you watching from? Do well to let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.